Rushed through these doors, 17 people have been given a second chance to live thanks to the new ambulance technology. When neighbors got back from church, investigators were still here, because DPS says it will take days to get all of this wreckage out of the pasture. A total of 1,500 water bottles were used in this display to get Austin residents thinking about waste management. The first time the vehicle was ever driven, it broke down in Cedar Park and has been sitting here ever since. Just a few miles away from their current location, council hopes to build their new training facility here to get more volunteers to help with their growing caseload. Students walking under these signs every day will remind the community of Officer Padron's sacrifice and the bond that the neighborhood and the police force now has. Reporting from Northwest Austin, Luqman Adeniyi, KXAN News. First at 5, we are learning more about a woman found dead Saturday in her Northwest Austin home. Today, police identify her as 53-year-old Kathy Blair. We just learned members of the Texas Army National Guard will deploy to Western Africa to help fight against Ebola. A team of engineers based in Angleton, which is south of Houston, will deploy next spring in support of Operation United Assistance. We'll have more tonight on KXAN News at 9 and after the game. Voter turnout for the runoff is expected to be significantly lower than what we saw in November. Here's a closer look. Nearly 26,000 people cast ballots in the first 6 days of early voting for the runoff. That's just under 5% of registered voters. For comparison, 64,000 people voted early in the first 6 days of the November election. That was 10% of registered voters. Friends and family gathered this weekend to remember Thomas Duncan, the Liberian man who died from Ebola in a Dallas hospital. Duncan died in October, but his fiancée and other loved ones were under quarantine, so they held a memorial service last night. The president of the Liberian Community Association says they continue to stand by his fiancée and family and will offer them any help they can.
It was unreal. You know, and I guess up to this point, it really hasn't settled in that I came that close to dying.
Alive and well today, Sylvia was suffering from a severe case of the flu last winter. That's when St. David's South called for an ambulance. They needed help to keep Sylvia alive, to help her survive for her family.
They went through so much trouble. There were so many precautions that they had to take before they transferred me.
ECMO specialists rushed Sylvia to Seton Medical as the machine pumped life back into its dying patient. The tech oxygenates the blood of those suffering from respiratory illnesses by running it through an artificial lung, giving dying organs in time they need to heal and the patient's body a chance to fight. Rushed through these doors, 17 people have been given a second chance to live thanks to the new ambulance technology.
And we're pretty proud of the fact that we've been able to, do as well as we have done with that. We have Sylvia as a great example of how this can work. We're pretty happy with our investment.
The ECMO team has carried the $250,000 equipment as far as 60 miles to help those trying to hold on to life like Sylvia.
When my heart stopped, they were able to revive me, and I made it over here,
where they could start up her life again. Luqman Adeniyi, KXAN News. Towing businesses are something most people avoid and believe they could do without. But a local family business owner says they provide a necessary service for the city.
We're one of the few, if not the only, industries that provide this type of service to the city of Austin and the residents of Austin.
Tasha Mora is the president of the Austin Towing Association and says a $35 increase for non-consent towing could make a big difference.
If we don't see an increase, there's a possibility that many of the smaller businesses in Austin could go out of business. They would have to file bankruptcy. These are Austin-owned businesses that are providing jobs to local Austin residents. But beyond that there would be fewer companies and trucks on these roadways to clear out the congested traffic that we see in Austin, period.
Non-consent towing includes when police call for cars to be towed after an accident or when a car is illegally parked on a private property. The rate hasn't increased since 2006, but the workers' comp, insurance, and regulations fees have increased for companies. But not everyone is willing to pay more, even though Austin rates are the lowest in Central Texas.
35 more, it's going to help the people that's collecting it, but that 35, it's It's just more added weight, but it's already crushing some families.
If passed by City Council, the increase will go into effect at the end of the month. Luqman Adeniyi, KXAN News.
You're about to get a chance for some pictures, the like of which, unless you were there 70 years ago, you probably never had the chance to take before.
Honoring military servicemen ahead of Veterans Day, volunteers at the Texas Military Forces Living History Detachment demonstrated battles fought in the deadliest war in history, World War II.
These guys do it right. They do it to historical detail and accuracy. Just like Ben and I, we were making sure we had everything right before we stepped out the door this morning.
Colonel John Riley says the accuracy of the free demonstrations at Camp Mabry allows people to learn how their freedom was earned.
Because you don't want to give a false portrayal of a piece of history, just like you don't want an inaccurate quote in a textbook. You want to make sure that what you're showing others, what they're learning, is the real deal.
The history lesson included assault rifles, tanks, and grenades for the whole crowd to see, like they were right there fighting German forces on the 1944 battlefield.
I thought it was pretty accurate, only I don't think it could touch how it was the real thing if your heart was up in your throat.
And your life on the line. Luqman Adeniyi, KXAN News.